You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
It's time to spin round the rim. This is Desert Planet Discs. Star Wars music in a single file. Here are your hosts, Carl Bayless and Greg Robertson.
Welcome to this special Desert Planet Discs, where we delve into the life and times of entertainers who also have a love for all things Star Wars. Our guest today is a star of stage, screen and more, both in the Star Wars universe and beyond. She's an actress, voiceover artist and musician, but to us, she'll always be royalty. Welcome to the show, Julie Dolan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can call me Your Highness. No.
I shall curtsy at the time. Nod and bow. Welcome to the show, Julie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good. Yeah, everything's starting to come back to normal. You know, sort of. It's wavering.
Yeah. So you're out in the sunshine of LA.
I'm in the deep part of LA, and where it's nice and hot and crowded and busy.
And obviously this won't come over to the listeners, but Julie's currently actually sat in the Rebel base.
Oh yes, I am.
Yes. So
I have to always be working and making sure that we're all protected.
That's it. So, yeah, you're known to fans of Star Wars as the voice of Princess Leia in various projects, but your career has seen you in sort of many TV and film roles. How did you first get started in acting?
I think I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I saw Shirley Temple, believe it or not, in a movie, and I said to my mom, "That's what I want to do." Not realizing what I was saying, but something attracts you to what you're seeing, and you say, "I have to do that." So she put me in dance class. So I was a dancer for years. I mean, I made a living in like tap dancing and jazz and gymnastics and things like that. And when I was 9, the dance school offered acting classes and improv classes and putting on musicals, because we were a dance school and an acting school. So why not do Carousel, and why not do all of these musicals? And then also we did dramatic plays like Helen Keller and just a lot of different types of performances. And then of course we had our dance recital every year, and then we would tour around as dancers. And so that's how I got started acting, is in my dance school. And when I was 9, now I was born and raised in LA, so there's a lot of opportunity here, and there's a lot of agents here. My dad and I went to dinner one night. I was 9 years old. And of course, I was very outgoing, and I would go up to all the tables. "Hey, is everything okay?" Like I was their waitress. I was. So the owner said, "She's got like a very outgoing personality. I have an agent that might be interested in her." So I met with that agent, and I started going on auditions for TV and film and commercials, and I booked my first commercial. And then I didn't work for 10 years. Audition after audition after audition. I was mostly dancing, so I wasn't available. And when I was like 18, I finally said, "I don't think I want to do this anymore." And then boom, I booked a national commercial. And any actor will know, you go so long without working, and you just are at the point of going, maybe this isn't for me. And then you book something that carries you for another 10 years. And then I started doing a lot of ABC after school specials and episodics and soap operas. And that sort of carried me through my 20s. And, as an actor, you go through different phases of what you look like and getting older. And you're too young to play the mom, but you're too old to play the daughter. So you go through a weird phase. They call it the Mickey Rooney phase, because he's too old to play one thing. He's too young, and he looks young, but he's not that young. So, all of us go through that if you stick around long enough. I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I never thought about doing voiceovers. So I would, as an adult, I would do episodics, and I was on Gilmore Girls for maybe 5 or 6 episodes, all through different seasons. And so I would get national commercials here and there, and not so national commercials. So you just take what you can do. And of course, the stage was always my training. So I trained on the theater. So I do a play every year if I can. So that kept me busy and working. I started piano at 9 years old in a convent. I went to Catholic school. So a nun taught me how to play piano. But I always wanted to be a rock star in the back of my head, but I never pursued it. I played piano all through my 20s and 30s and just for fun stuff, classical, Beethoven and Bach. And then I kind of switched over to the Beatles just because I got a Beatle book and I knew how to read, so I would play Beatle music. But I've been acting for that long, and even to this day, it's still I'm auditioning now. See, I used to play a lot of hookers. I don't know why. I was on the Conan show. I was there every time they would do one of their little comedic skits. I would be their resident hooker. They would always call me to be the hooker. I played hookers on TV. I played madams. I played teenage pregnant drug addicts. I was always the bad girl. And now I'm auditioning for the lawyer that represents the bad girl, or the doctor, or the therapist, or the nurse that brings them in. So things have, as you get older and you stick around this business, you start, the roles that you play start changing. And I got a job at Universal Studios when I was, it was back in '92 as a dancer, because they have a theme park there. And they had all of these live action shows for kids, like the Rugrats, Land Before Time, the Flintstones, Rocky and Bullwinkle. And you need actors that can be put in those costumes and can get on stage and dance. So I did that for 12 years and all different shows. And that led to Beverly Hills Cop 3, which was directed by John Landis, and he filmed it in a theme park. That particular movie was in a theme park. So he came up to the theme park and said, well, I want characters. So he hired all of us as the characters. And I wanted to show him that we could actually dance, not just walk around and wave. So I created a dance number, and I grabbed another character, and we put our costumes on, and we did a tap dance. And he all of a sudden created a brand new scene where Eddie Murphy comes on stage and dances with the characters. So I'm in a big pig costume dancing with Eddie Murphy. It was crazy. And then I did 2 television series, one in a pig costume and the other one in a giraffe costume. And I did like 50 episodes of one series and 60 episodes of the other, but I'm in costume. You never see my face. You don't hear my voice. I didn't do voiceovers then. I was just in costume, acting and dancing. And then I booked, I don't know if you remember the movie Basketball with the South Park guys, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, where they played a game called Basketball. It was sort of basketball and baseball mixed, and it was a comedy. And I was in a big, huge beer barrel costume on the field because I was their mascot. So it's because I could be in a costume like that and move around and not get claustrophobic. That's a whole other thing. People get claustrophobic in these things. And about 3 years ago, I gave up costume work. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm too old. I don't want to do this anymore. But 3 years ago, I booked a national commercial, and it was playing the keytar. I have a keytar because I was in an 80s band. So I auditioned playing the keytar, and it was one of those Kia commercials where they have the little hamsters driving the car. There's a whole series of these hamsters in a Kia commercial. They're CGI. They're not real hamsters. They're people in costume. So I thought, oh, how cute. I'm going to be playing like guitar or keytar with a little hamster. And my agent said, no, you are the hamster. So the commercial was a huge hit, ran for a long time. And there's five or six musicians. We all have different instruments, and we have hamsters for heads. And we're playing with some folk singer, like his name is Nathan Radiff, and he's a famous folk singer. He was in the commercial with us, and we're all around him playing our instruments. And I thought, that's so funny that my worlds merged, my dance world, because we had to dance around, my music world, and my costume world. It sort of came together in one job. And I thought, had I not had all that training, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been chosen for that job. So, boy, you asked me one question and I just went off. That was, that's the way I am, though. I just keep talking.
Brilliant. Obviously, you've been busy over the years, but we're just coming through a slight period of inactivity thanks to the pandemic and lockdowns, which obviously has affected a lot of people, particularly in the entertainment industry. And obviously, you've moved into voice work. Have you still been able to do that sort of work during the pandemic, or productions stalled a lot?
Well, productions did stall, but as soon as that happened, voice actors, now I have my own, when I audition, I have a big walk-in closet that's very padded. I have all my equipment in my walk-in closet. I do my voiceover auditions from there because it sounds like a booth. And then when you book the job, you go in a studio and do it. So my equipment it was good enough for auditions, but it wasn't good enough to actually do the job. So all of us voice actors had to scramble and upgrade all of our equipment. Some people bought booths and put them in their house. So it was completely soundproof. So I did the best I could, and I upgraded all my equipment, and I would audition, still auditioning for stuff, because now you can do it at home. And if you book the job, there's certain applications you had to buy, there's certain subscriptions so that you had to download so the person on the other end could record you without any latency. Yeah. And so it cost, if you didn't have the money to do this, or if you didn't even have a studio to begin with, it was a lot of work. I was already halfway there. So it was just a little bit more of an upgrade, a little bit more money to get all this stuff that I needed. And I started booking voiceover jobs, and I would do them from home. And then I auditioned for a commercial, a WebMD commercial, which is on like the internet. It's like an internet commercial. And it was on camera, not voiceover. And my husband and I are both actors, and we do a lot of self-tapes. Self-tapes have been around even before COVID, where the casting director doesn't want to bring you in to the office for the first time. So they'll send you the information. Here's the scene. Here's the setup. And you film it yourself at home. So you have to have lights. You have to have a good camera. You have to kind of know how to edit. You have to have a backdrop that's not too busy. And I have a microphone, like a little lavalier, so they can hear me. My husband and I have been doing this for years. So when everything went to self-tape, we were already set up. Well, now I booked this commercial, and they said, you're going to film it. So now I'm filming myself. I'm lighting myself. I'm miking myself. It's my wardrobe and my office, which can look like a doctor's office because I played a doctor. So I did 2 of those. And, you have to record yourself, videotape yourself, and then save the file, label them correctly, make sure you don't glitch anything, and then send them to the producer. It was a lot of work, and that hasn't stopped. All of a sudden, casting and producers are like, wow, wait a minute, we can save money and let them do all their auditions from home. We can do Zoom with them. We don't have to. And it's good for us because we don't have to drive. I mean, I miss going into the office, but I don't have to drive to Santa Monica on a Friday afternoon and hit tons of LA traffic. I can do everything from home. Nowadays, when you book the job, you go to the set, which is nice. I've been working on set for a while now on different projects, and everybody is very COVID safe. You have to get COVID tested for your wardrobe fitting. You have to get COVID tested before you go into the set. They check everything there. You have to show, some people are places you have to actually show your vaccination card. They're coming down to that now. So a lot of people aren't working because they're not vaccinated, or they can't get vaccinated, or they're allergic to the vaccination, whatever the reason. That's where we're coming around to now. So things are starting to come back, and they're starting to come back in person. Same with voiceovers. I've been doing some voiceovers in my closet jobs, and some I'm going in the studio Thursday to do a voiceover job. And, it's just me in there. Nobody's around. The director's through a glass. I can see him through the glass, but it's very COVID friendly. They're taking all the precautions. So I kept working. I mean, I went on unemployment like we all did. Every actor I know went on unemployment. And when you get the job, you report it to unemployment, and then you go back on unemployment.
Yeah.
And because there was a lot of money that came in from unemployment if you qualified. So it kept us, both of us, my husband and I, kept us afloat.
Yeah. One of the other ways you filled your time during lockdown was your travel blog mini-series called Who Knew?
Who Knew? Lesson Learned.
Yeah.
That started actually 2 years before COVID. My brother said to me, you have a really interesting life. You should do some kind of a blog. He does a blog. He's like a self-help inspirational guru. So he sends out these amazing little blogs every couple of weeks just to inspire people about the industry. He's in the entertainment industry. He said, you should do something like that. I said, what am I going to talk about? Myself? I'm not going to talk about myself. That's stupid. I want to do something where I help people, where I can give them some kind of advice. And I had been traveling a lot for conventions and for my bands. And every time I traveled, something came up where I was like, I did not know you could do that on a plane. How? So I started writing these things down. And I started writing like the synopsis. Episode 1, what did I learn? And then I went on the internet and I found pictures, or I took my own pictures. And I started it in like 2018, and I never had time, and I never had the inspiration. I thought, this is stupid. Nobody's going to watch this. Nobody's going to learn anything. And then during COVID, I thought, now's the time. So I filmed it, and I wrote it, and I did all the editing and put it on YouTube. And I did 13 episodes. And I had my whole family and a bunch of friends were like, I didn't know you could do that. You just taught me something. So when I go back in a plane, or I go on a train, or I go to Europe, I'm going to know. And I felt like my job is done then. If one person learned something and they can apply it the next time they travel. And, of course they're saying, when are you going to do the next series, the next episode or the next season? Well, when I start traveling again, maybe I'll start writing stuff down. I don't know. Yeah. So that's how that happened. And I feel like that's something that I created from scratch. Being an actor, I take other people's words and I bring them to life. Being in a tribute band, or cover band, I take other people's music and I bring them to life. I don't write my own songs. I don't write my own scripts. But this I created from nothing. And if I never do anything again that I create from nothing, I'm good. I feel like I accomplished it. I'm good at taking something else somebody gives me and expanding on that. And I'm a good editor. If you give me, like my bands, if you give me footage, I will put together a 2-minute fantastic demo or promo so you can sell the band. I'm good at that, but I'm not good at coming up with something out of my head. That's just not my brain. So.
Yeah. No, it was really good fun. I travelled myself with work, and there's definitely some of those that are, when we start travelling again, those are on the list. Taking a picture of the car in the bay where you've parked.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah. How many times have I come back to the car park and gone, what number was I in? Yes, everybody's got a camera in their pocket these days.
Yes.
Just take a picture of it. There you go. Seems so simple, but there you go. So
now, and here's the addition to that. If you take it, let's say, I did this the other day, actually. I went to the airport and I took a picture of where my car was parked. And then I sent that picture to my husband, who was at home. That way, if I lose my phone, God forbid, you lose where you park and you lose your phone, you can somehow call him, and I don't know where, because you don't have your phone, but you call him and say, where am I parked? And you know what I mean? So that's just like
Oh, cloud storage and everything. Oh, there you go. Yeah. See, there's a bonus episode there, folks.
Right.
I say that was really good fun to watch. So definitely,
good. Thanks.
Definitely recommended. Check that out.
It's on YouTube. Who Knew? Lesson Learned.
Who Knew? Lesson Learned. Julie Dolan, and you will be thoroughly enlightened for when you can next travel.
Yes.
And obviously now restrictions are starting to ease up. You've been back filming, so how's that been, actually back filming
It's good. I'm doing just these little projects that I'm booking, like little TV series that are just starting out, or a pilot for a TV series, or some kind of episodic website thing. But it feels, and I got to be honest, you're on set. Everybody wants to say 6 feet apart, but you're sitting, like I played a principal in a school on this last job. And you've got the lighting guys around you. You got the sound guys. Nobody's staying 6 feet apart. Mm-hmm. Everybody's wearing masks. But it's impossible to have that distance, especially on a movie set or a TV set.
Yeah.
But everybody's getting tested before they get there. When you get there on site, you get your temperature taken. So you kind of have to trust that everybody's vaccinated, and hopefully. And I did a gig with one of my bands last month, and the sound guy didn't wear a mask. And my guitar player has a compromised immune system and was told, your band has to be vaccinated, and anybody you're around has to be. They can't breathe on you. So she just happened to say, "Hi, I'm the guitar player. Just wondering, are you vaccinated?" And he joked about it. He said, maybe. She goes, no, really, I just need to know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And she said, okay, no joke. Are you vaccinated? He said, no. She said, put your mask on. So he did. So people are kind of taking this not so seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so everywhere is different, but it seems like that people are trying to be careful.
Yeah.
Almost
talking about travel, I guess. One of the first jobs that you had in the galaxy far, far away was providing the voice of Leia for the Star Tours ride at Disneyland.
Yes.
So let's have a quick listen to your monologue from the Star Tours Disneyland ride.
I am Princess Leia of Alderaan. We've placed a rebel spy vital to the survival of the rebellion into your starspeeder. You must see him safely delivered to the coordinates I'm transmitting to your R2 unit. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Star Tours. You're my only hope.
That was Julie's Princess Leia voiceover for the Star Tours ride at Disneyland. So
in Disney World. It's at Disney World
Disney
as well.
World. Sorry, yes. Disneyland,
yes.
Disney World.
Yes.
And from a previous interview you did with our esteemed colleague and friend Claire Henry, I recall that you said that you weren't on the voiceover in Paris. Now, I think you might be, because although I think the ride itself is like generically in French, because of the different nationalities, they put different translations. So I think you may be the voice in Paris.
No, I am then, because they did tell me that it was going in Paris and Japan. And I said, oh, that's great. And then somebody said to me, like 10 years, not 10 years, like 5 years later, well, what did you say it in French? And I thought, oh, what an idiot I am. Of course I didn't. So if it's in English, definitely me.
Yeah, because you get like headsets, and
that's fantastic.
You can pick your language. So
I did not know that.
Being European, you've obviously got German, Spanish, Italian, English, French. So they've either got to go common denominator and hope everybody speaks English, or quite a lot of the rides in Paris, they offer translated service almost. So it's probably you. So there you go. So you are in Paris.
So exciting to know that. That is going to outlive me, that job. That was my very first Leia job. And that's going to be there after I die. It's awesome.
So how did that come about? Did they approach you as a voice actor or as an actor to do that? Or was it just
no?
Did you think I'm going to go for that? Or
no.
was it like many of the Lucasfilm projects that it's actually a little bit mysterious what you're actually applying for in the first place?
Yes, it will. Now, this to me, I had a voiceover agent, and I auditioned for animation and commercials and video games and promos and all that stuff. And she gets the breakdowns, and she'll go through the meaning of like all the projects that are being cast and all the characters and what style of voice they want. So she'll look at her roster of her clients and go, who can do this? Who can do this? So she kind of handpicks, I think Julie could do this. And, she probably had maybe a handful of girls that auditioned for it in her agency alone.
Yeah.
So she called me and said, "Can you sound like Princess Leia?" Now, of course I saw Star Wars, but I hadn't seen it since 77. I wasn't a complete crazy Star Wars fan where I watched it over and over and over again. I watched all the movies, but it's been a long time. So I said, probably not. I don't think so. She said, well, here's the speech, the Obi-Wan Kenobi speech. Listen to it, practice with it, and record it, and then send it back to me. So my husband and I worked on it. And the way I do voice match is I listen to it, and then I say the words with her, and then I keep saying the words with her, and I match the rhythm, I match the pitch, I match the emotion, the gait, everything. And then I take away the original and I say it by myself to see if I can sustain it. And that's when I recorded it. And I sent it in, and I said, I don't know if it sounds like it or not. And she called me like a week later and said, okay, you have a callback. Now in voiceover, callbacks are kind of rare. You just either book the job or you don't. But for something like this, they wanted to go through a couple of different steps and narrow it down. So they had me go into Disney Imagineering, which is where it's a studio where they do most of the stuff for the Disneyland theme park. That's where they do all of the voiceovers, for Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion and all that stuff. And I went into this beautiful studio. They had a vocal coach there who coached me on that slight English accent that Carrie had, because she had just come from the British Royal Academy. So she still had that accent. Well, I read somewhere where she became sort of her princess aficionado. She went into this little English accent. She said it kind of slipped in and out. So they had to train me on how to do that. And the vocal coach trained me on the emotion and what I'm saying. To this point, I had no idea what this was for. They don't tell you. I didn't know it was for a ride at Disneyland. You don't know. So they had Carrie's hologram, so I could sort of relate to it while I was talking. So I said the line, I said the speech, and I stepped outside the studio, and I looked up at the screen, and it was Carrie's hologram scene from A New Hope. And she was saying my words. So they put my mouth over hers, or somehow manipulated what she was saying to my words about the Star Speeders in the ride. And it sounded exactly like her. And I said, is that me or is that Carrie? They said, no, that's you. Oh my God. I thought, wow, this is awesome. So I left and I never heard for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I got the call that I booked the job. So I went in and did the same exact thing. The same people were there, the same vocal coach to get me through it, and took a couple of hours, and I left. And I thought, what did I just do? And I had so many people say, this is going to change your life. And I went, why? This was really cool. And I got to recreate Star Wars in my life again. But I don't think it's just a job, just another acting job, another voiceover job. No, it's not. I'm like, okay. And then I got a call that I had to go back in and retape it. And I thought, oh, I screwed up. They hate me. That's what actors go through. Well, it was the placement of the microphone. They wanted it in a different placement so it sounded more like a hologram. So I just did the same thing over again. Exactly the same thing. It was a piece of cake, and I went in and taped it and then left. And then I couldn't talk about it for a year because I did that in 2015, maybe 6 months. I couldn't talk about it for 6 months. And it came out in January. It aired January. No. That was Rebels. Sorry, I'm mixing I did this one in 2010. And then the Star Tours ride opened, and I got to go see it. I went with my agent, and we sat in there, crossed our fingers that we got Leia, and we did. And of course, I heard my voice, and I went, oh no, I don't sound anything like her. And the people around were like, oh my God, is that Carrie? And I thought, oh, okay, maybe it did work. And then nothing happened till 5 years later when Dave Filoni called me and brought me in, and said he apparently went to Disneyland and sat on the ride and went, who's that? let's bring her in because we're doing an episode with Leia. And so he brought me in into his studio, where they tape Rebels, and we did another project. It was a motion capture where I put the helmet on, and I had to do a scene with R2D2 and C-3PO, and he directed me. I think he was just checking to make sure I could take direction and I could act, and not just sound like her, but I could actually sustain a whole episode as a guest star.
Yeah.
And then he called me afterwards and said, "Okay, you got the part." And then my whole life changed. And then all these Leia jobs came up, and the conventions started, and traveling the world, and it's still continuing to this day. So that was my first Leia job, and it led to everything else.
I was going to ask, when you got the part for Rebels, so Dave Filoni specifically went, right, that's I don't remember if I probably auditioned for something, but they don't tell you what you're auditioning for. They send you a script, and it just sounds like a science fiction animation show. You know it's animation. You know it's science fiction. There's always a code name and a code title for the series and a code name for the character. And I guess I wasn't familiar enough with Star Wars Rebels to recognize, oh, this sounds like Rebels. I mean, I don't think you would know, because it was a Princess Leia themed episode. So I just they didn't have the names. They didn't have any of the names in the show on the script. So you don't know what you're reading for. Yeah. And then my agent said, okay, this is for Star Wars Rebels. You're going to go in and meet with Dave Filoni. And I said, okay. So, but this was 5 years after, I think it was 5 years after, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, 5 years after the Star Tours ride. So I thought my participation in Star Wars was finished. And then it came back around, and it just, little things keep coming back around. It's like once you're a Star Wars family, you're in the family. No, and well deserved.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you ever get to meet Carrie?
As a dancer, I danced with her mom, Debbie, when I was younger, and we did big shows together, stage shows, and Carrie was in the audience, but I never got to meet her. And then the year she passed away, she had a book that came out, and I bought the book. And a friend of mine said, she's doing a book signing in Santa Monica. You should go meet her. And I said, that's kind of creepy. Me, going, hi, can you sign my book? By the way, I do your voice. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll meet her at a convention. That way we're sort of on the same side. And I won't be some creepy stalker girl who says I could do her voice. I don't want to be that person. And then she passed away. And I thought, never say never. Just go with your gut and take your fears away and just go do it. So it would have been nice. And I had people that knew her that said, no, she would have loved it. If you said, I've done your voice for the Star Tours ride and for this and for that, she would have loved that. Yeah. So, I kick myself every time somebody asks me that. Thanks a lot.
Oh, sorry.
Carl.
Sorry. Okay, and that brings us to the end of the episode. So alongside all of this wonderful, wonderful acting work that you've been doing, you also have what can only be described as an equally prolific career as a keyboard player. You mentioned earlier your modest beginnings in the convent, playing the piano. But as we're a music show, it's probably about time that we played something. So here's the sounds of one of your current projects, Charlie's Angels, the band.
Good morning, Angels.
Good morning, Charlie.
Night one saw crowds flooding the streets, taking in the music.
Cry no more. Jungle boogie.
The boogie band.
Jungle boogie. I know, I
everything in one location. Daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds. Bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Charlie's Angels, the band there, featuring our guest this evening, Julie Dolan, on keyboards. How does a band like that come together? Is that, as we mentioned, you've played in a lot of bands over the years. Is that people who you know from around the circuit go, we're putting a band together, Julie's who we want? Or, is it more of a sort of regular audition? You saw, there's a band there wants a keyboard player, I'm going to put myself forward for that.
In LA, in the cover band, tribute band world, it's very incestuous. We all know each other. We all play in bands with each other. And when I first started, I created it's a long story, but I've played with so many different bands, and I've won some awards, keyboard awards, and there's not that many keyboard players in LA, female, that do a lot of covers. There are quite a few, but not a lot. So there's only a handful to choose from. And then there's a personality conflict. She may be the greatest keyboard player in the world, but if they don't get along, it's drama is. So for Charlie's Angels, I knew the drummer. Well, I knew everybody, actually, because we've all been in bands that have either opened for each other or played with each other, or were friends to begin with and said, hey, it'd be fun to be in a band together. And the bass player, Jennifer, she is in a Kiss tribute. She plays guitar in a Kiss tribute. She plays guitar in a Cheap Trick tribute. She plays guitar in a AC/DC tribute. And she was my sub in my all-girl cover band. So that's how I knew her. And the drummer is in a Who tribute, an Elton John tribute. He's also in the Kiss tribute with her. So we all knew each other. And Jennifer said, I want to do a band called Charlie's Angels, the band. And I want it to be a theme of maybe one of the episodes. And I want to do the music from 1976 to 1981, that's when the series was. Yeah. And so her and the drummer decided to start it together. And he said, let's call Julie for the keyboards. Okay. So they called me. You want to do a 70s project? Yes, I do. I had 5 bands going, but I always were like, yes, I do. Yeah. When I started playing professionally, I would say my first band was in like 2003. Till now, 2021, I auditioned for one band, and that was a Bon Jovi tribute. Because they were like, a girl keyboard player for Bon Jovi? I don't know. Let's audition her. So they auditioned a bunch of guys. They auditioned me, and they went, okay, you're in. I'm like, oh, okay, great. But I've never had to audition for a band because people would see our band and they'd come up to me and say, hey, we're starting this kind of band. Do you want to play with us? Yeah. If it's something that I was like Alice Cooper, I was in an Alice Cooper tribute. I was in a Cheap Trick. I was in a Tom Petty. I was in David Bowie. I never had to audition for any of those. They would just do a show with me and say, okay, you're the one. So Charlie's Angels, I didn't have to audition for. And we started rehearsing in 2019, and we came up with we sat down and went through the top 100 chart lists, the songs from 1976 to 81. Those aren't my favorite songs. I like early 70s or I like later 80s. But we narrowed it down, and there's a lot of disco. So I was like, oh man, there's a lot of horn sections, and there's a lot of keyboards, a lot of strings. That's all going to be a lot of harmonies. So we rehearsed, and I think we did 2 shows, and then COVID happened. Yes. It's like, or 2 or 3 shows. And now that COVID is starting to slow down, we've done some of the shows that were canceled for last year, Concerts in the Park, came back this year. So we did those. And we've done a couple of shows this past week, like one in Palm Springs. We did another one in Costa Mesa last week, that means nothing to you, but it was a different little private parties in a club that a promoter would put on. So we're having a good time with it, and people are loving the music. And I'm having so much fun playing this music because I love the 70s and I love the 80s, and it's sort of a combination. I get to use my synthesizer, I get to use organ, I get to use strings, I do play horns. It's really great.
You've mentioned a few of the bands that you've been in over the years. You've nearly been in as many bands as me.
Yeah.
We've not been in a band together, have we?
I don't think so.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. There's always time. There's always time.
Yes.
There's a fair few rock tributes in there. So have you always been a rocker at heart?
Yes. Yes. When I was younger, I think I dated every rocker in LA. And every musician. I mean, I was just, and I married an actor. We'll figure that one out. I've always been attracted to musicians. My brother was a musician, so I would hang out with him. He's older than I am, and he started a magazine in LA called Music Connection. It's a huge magazine, and so he would get invited to all of these music parties and celebrity-ridden things, and I would go with him. I would be his date, and I would meet so many musicians and ended up dating a lot of them. So I've always been in the music world, but I wasn't active in it until 2003. My brother and I are big Beatle fans, and he and I used to get together every Tuesday night at his house. He'd be on drum. He's a drummer, and I'd be on keyboards, and we would sing Beatles songs and 60s songs because I love the 60s music. I was in a 60s band for a while too, called Aquarius and Summer of Love, 2 different bands. And he and I would play over and over. Every week we'd play all these 60 songs. And then he saw an ad looking for a female keyboard player for an 80s band. And he said, "You should audition for this." And I said, I'm not going to be in a band. I want to play with you on Tuesday nights, and I want to play 60s music. I don't know 80s music. He said, "This is your chance to get out there and play. We're playing in my office, my little living room. This is a chance for you." I got scared and I said, "Okay, I'll audition for it." So I auditioned, and I'm an overachiever. So they wanted me to learn 3 songs, like a Go-Go song and a Duran Duran song and a Pat Benatar song. I learned 5 songs and went to the audition, and the lead singer and I hit it off and was like, we knew our parts. The other bandmates weren't so prepared. And I thought, wow, this is not for me. I come prepared. I know my parts, but they don't. And maybe being a trained actor, you're more disciplined. And I thought, if this is the way musicians are, then there goes my dream. And she pulled me inside and said, no, these guys are slackers. You and I can start our own band. So we auditioned people. I'd never auditioned anybody. I didn't know what to do. Where do you audition them? Where do you go to a studio? What do we audition with? So we came up with a whole song list. We auditioned players, and we rehearsed in 2003. And we had our first gig. I think it was the summer of 2003. And I had the time of my life. And I went, this is where I belong. And then she and I had a falling out. And then I booked a Gilmore Girls on the night we had a gig, and it was a night shoot. And I went, oh no, my worlds are colliding. What do I do? And I said, well, I'm an actor. I can't take a gig over a TV show. Yeah. So I canceled the gig, but I reconvened and auditioned other players. And some of the players from this band wanted to come with me. I said, listen, I miss playing the 60s. So I'm going to start a new band, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and call it the Undercover Girls. And we played from 2004 to, I think, last year. We had our gig last year. Like during COVID, we did one thing and that was it. And then we retired this year. I was like, okay, it's been 16 years. It's time. Let's move on. Same with my NXS tribute band. I did audition for that, come to think of it, but I knew all the guys already. And we've been together for 15 years and we just retired this year.
That's impressive. That's very impressive. So, as you said, you've retired a couple of projects, but you've also got another project on the go at the moment, the all-girl Aerosmith tribute, Ragdolls.
Yes. Now, I wasn't really an Aerosmith fan, and not that I don't like Aerosmith. That wasn't one of the bands that I would go to and listen to a lot. I mean, I liked Kiss. Kiss. No, I don't like Kiss. I mean, they're okay. Not my thing. I liked more progressive rock, Kansas and Styx and Yes. And of course, Elton John. I like, not that he's progressive, but I like Elton John, Billy Joel because of the piano. But Aerosmith wasn't my go-to band. So I didn't know a lot of Aerosmith songs. And how I got into that band is the guitar player is in a 60s band. And I saw that on Facebook and I said, hey, I love the 60s. If you ever need a keyboard player, I'm your girl. And the lead singer of Ragdolls, the Aerosmith band, saw me say that. And she said, hey, I'm the lead singer of Aerosmith. We need a keyboard player. Are you interested? And I said, Aerosmith has keyboards? Oh, yes, they do. There's if it's not piano, there's a lot of piano. There's organ, there's strings, there's horns, there's a lot of percussion, there's a lot of harmonies. So I said, I'll learn 3 songs and I'll come to your rehearsal and we'll see if we're a good fit. So I think I learned Dream On and Walk This Way, which actually Walk This Way doesn't have any keyboards. It's all percussion. I play all the percussion in that. But I learned a couple of songs. Most of these songs I'd never heard before. I mean, I've heard a handful of them. And then a lot of them I was like, oh, that's Aerosmith? I remember that song. That's a great song. Yeah. So I started rehearsing with them. And then COVID happened. So we put everything on the back burner. And but I continued to learn songs. And then we did a live streaming show during COVID. We went into a studio and they had beautiful LED backdrops and moving pictures behind us. And we did a live stream so people could, that was our first gig. People could watch the show and get a sense of who we are and what we did. That way, when we did a live show, they'd be like, okay, I need to see them live. And that's exactly what happened. We got a great demo out of it. And as soon as, I think it was earlier this year was our first show. Yeah, maybe March or something. And we started performing different clubs around LA. Now we're going to casinos outside of LA. We're going up north. So the word is getting around about the girls. And, you know, there's a lot of male Aerosmith tributes around as well. But it's a novelty because we're girls, great musicians. These girls are unbelievable. So you sort of forget that we're girls. You know, we try to dress a little bit like the band. Our lead singer spends a lot of money on her outfit. Our guitar players do. Everybody does. They try to look like the female version of the Aerosmith guys. So it works, and people love it.
Yeah, so I've seen some of the live stuff that's out there on YouTube, and we'll be playing a little excerpt from that later as well. It is that thing that you get taken away into the music, and you do kind of all of a sudden you go, oh wait a minute, yeah, it's girls doing this, and then you get back into the music again, and it is. And I know exactly what you mean when you say about the songs. The amount of times in bands I've been in, and you go, oh yeah, we're gonna do XYZ as a cover song, and you go, oh yeah, I know that, and you'd be like, you know it from hearing it on the radio. Then you come to play it, and it's like, oh, hang on a minute. There's a lot more going on in this than I actually realized. Yes.
That happened to me I was in an all-female Led Zeppelin band for like a hot minute. And again, I was not a Led Zeppelin fan. Not that I didn't like Led Zeppelin, but I wasn't like, that's not my go-to band. So I had to learn some of this music that I never really got into. And by getting underneath the music and learning, wow, what that bass line is awesome. Yeah. And what the piano was doing. And there's a lot of keyboards in Led Zeppelin. I started really liking the music, and I appreciated the musicianship and the songwriting and the bass, especially the bass. I don't know why, but because I'm not a bass player, but I just loved the bass lines. And I really started liking that music more, you know, and same with Bon Jovi. I was a Bon Jovi fan. I love Bon Jovi, but I loved it more after playing it. I loved being in that band. We were called Born Jovi, and we played all over the place, and the lead singer looked and sounded just like Bon Jovi, and we had a blast. But there's a lot of Bon Jovi tributes. So there's not that, you know, there's a lot of gigs, but there's not that many in town. And so it was just few and far between. And the lead singer finally went, okay, I'm getting too old for this. I want to eat more cookies and not fit into these tight leather pants anymore. So, and you know, and he had kids.
Yeah, happens to the best of us.
Yeah, yeah. He literally said that. He goes, I want to eat more cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies, and I keep getting fat, and I can't fit into my jeans anymore, my leather pants.
There you go. So cautionary tale there, kids. If you want to join a band, don't eat lots of chocolate chip cookies. Or if you do want to eat lots of chocolate chip cookies, be a drummer.
Who knew? Lesson learned.
There you go. That's the way to go. And all of these wonderful musical exploits saw you join VH1's TV reality show, the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. And on that, you were working with the likes of Kip Winger, Bret Michaels of Poison, Michael Anthony from Van Halen, and just an absolute massive list.
Lita Ford, Ace Frehley.
Yeah. Just a who's who of 80s and 90s rock icons.
Paul Stanley, Duff McKagan. Yeah.
Just like, there are some great pictures on your website of you, like with Lemmy from Motorhead.
Oh, yes.
And it's just like, oh my God.
Crazy.
This is just... So how does something like that come about?
Well, Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is a real camp, and I had not heard of it, but they do it all over the country, and it's 7 days, and people from all walks of life. You could be a plumber, you could be a car salesman, but if you can play a little bit or sing a little bit or you play an instrument, you pay a lot of money and you join this camp, and it changes your world for a week. And you go in and your counselor is a rock star, and you have to learn a song. They put a band together. You have to learn some songs, some cover songs. You have to write a song. You have to go into the studio and record it. And then you have to perform live at a couple different venues. So in a week, it's a real rock star experience. And it's fantastic. So I hadn't heard of this camp before, but apparently it had been going on. Now they decided to take cameras and follow the musicians around and sort of see on the inside of what happens. So that's how the reality series, David Fishoff, who runs Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, came up with this idea, and paired with Mark, big reality show producer, not Mark Cuban. Anyway, I'll think of it. But they created this reality show. So they auditioned 15 musicians. I mean, they auditioned 1 million people, but they auditioned for 15 musicians that could play a little bit, that they felt might be interesting to follow. Now, you had to fill out like a 13-page contract for a reality show saying that they can film you anywhere, anytime. They can take what you say and juxtapose it so it sounds like you said the opposite. And my agent said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, yes, I do. It's not that kind of a reality show, because at the end we're going to perform, and it's sort of like a contest. Who's the best band? Yeah. So it's an experience that I want to do. And so they had to make sure you weren't crazy. So they did background checks on you because they don't want crazy people. So they picked 15 musicians, and we auditioned with like all the people in the that were doing the camp anyway. We auditioned for the camp counselors so they could pick to see who they wanted. Okay, so Mark Hudson, I want that girl, and I want that. Kip Winger, I want her. Well, I'll trade you for this. So they would sit there. Rudy Sarzo, all of them were sitting at their panel talking amongst themselves after we auditioned. We're like, every single person went up there and auditioned for, playing. They give you a certain song that you had to play. Mine was Born to Be Wild, with a band. I'd never played with this band. I didn't know who these people are. They would call your name up, and you'd go up and they go, "Okay, you're going to play Born to Be Wild." Now, we were given these songs a week before. Make sure you learn all these 5 songs, because one of them you're going to perform. We didn't know which ones, so it was a little scary. So after you play, the camp counselors kind of talk amongst themselves and go, "Well, I want her." And they, at the very end, they then put the bands together. And 3 of these bands were the ones that were going to go on television. And we already knew we were going on television. I don't think the campers knew at that point, but everybody was being put in their group. And the next morning, we were, in the studio working with Kip Winger. He was my counselor, and we're rehearsing Born to Be Wild. We were rehearsing an Alice Cooper song. School's Out is what it was. We were rehearsing an AC/DC song, all these cover songs. And then we had to start writing a song, and we I didn't know how to write. I'm not a writer. So the guitar player's like, I got a lick. And the bass player's like, let me add to that. And I was like, well, okay, I'll add something. And, you know, they're like, yeah, you're just the keyboard player. Just play what we write. Oh, okay. So there was a lot of drama there between the guitar player and I. We're friends now, but there was a lot of drama, and that's what they liked. You know, they want the drama. So then we went into the studio, East West Studio in Hollywood, with Eddie Kramer, who recorded Jimi Hendrix and the Mamas and the Papas and all of these major stars. And we were in that studio recording. I'd never done anything like that before. And all of this is televised. All of this is on the show. You know, you see all the behind the scenes crying and fighting and happiness and joy and learning and figuring out and writing. It was a really good series. And it was one of the most memorable weeks I've ever had.
Cool.
Yeah.
And as you say, the culmination of that show saw you recording the track, and we'll have a listen to that now. This is the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Did the band have a name?
We were called Firecracker Institute.
Firecracker Institute. There you go. So this is Firecracker Institute with Bury Me Alive.
Is it all in my head? All I see to surreal. Can I save my soul? Is it real? It's world that I feel. I need a life that can steal the feel of the whole. Sky's falling, ground shaking, mind crumbling all around me. No place to crawl my way out. Bury me alive. Kill my reason why. Set another light. You gotta bury me alive.
So that was Julie and Firecracker Institute with Bury Me Alive from VH1's Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. And we actually first met at Star Wars Family Fun Day, even. Star Wars Family Fun Day in Burnley a couple of years ago. And as you've already mentioned, you're sort of out and about on the convention circuit. Is that something you've grown to enjoy? Did you enjoy it from the off?
The first one I did was in Florida called Animate. And it was basically anime. It was all the anime characters and then a little side section of a few Star Wars characters. I had no idea what to expect. And you have to get your 8x10s. You buy them yourself. I created them. You know, I do editing and I can do some graphic stuff. So I created my own photos, went to the printer, printed them out. And you don't know how many you're going to sell. You don't know what to take. At least I didn't. And we got there, and apparently the anime characters were all giving away their photos. So their lines were really long, and we had nobody. And the Star Wars characters, I remember Kat Tabor, who does Padme, she said, "I'm so sorry, this is not normal." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm nervous. I just want to watch. I don't need to." I signed a couple of autographs, and I was like, I'm good to go. She goes, "No, you need, it's usually packed." And I said, "Maybe the next one." So the more I did, a lot of them were more geared for Star Wars or sci-fi. Then things started getting a little busier, and I started understanding, I see how this works. Okay, this is great. And I started getting more comfortable and meeting some of the same fans. They'll come to different conventions. If they've already got my autograph, they just want to come and say hi. "Oh, I already got you. I want to go get that person because, I see how this works. These are collectors, and they collect everybody. And they make all of us feel so important and part of their family." And it was really interesting meeting the fans because it felt like we had something in common. Now, when I first did Rebels, I hadn't watched the show, so I made sure I watched the show. And I also, when you do a character as an actor, you need to find out what their goals are and who their parents are and how you grew up and what you want in life and how you feel about things. So I had to dive into Princess Leia. I did Wikipedia and I watched A New Hope over and over. I watched there were only 6 movies at the time. I watched all 6 of them over and over so I could see who her parents were, who she was, who her dad was, what she wanted as a 18-year-old, as she got a little bit older, who she became. So now I'm playing her as a 14 or 15-year-old. Before all of this, I had to just know what her standards were. As an actor, you have to know. So I did a lot of research, and I did a lot of research on all the different planets and with the wars and who did this and the Clone Wars. I didn't go back as far as the Clone Wars because it just didn't really apply to my character yet. So when I talked to some of these fans, I knew what they were talking about. I was able to have a conversation with them, but then they'd go off on something that I'm like, I don't know that. I did not, that's not part of, and when I would do interviews, the advertising department or the marketing department of Disney would be on the phone with me, with somebody who was interviewing me at the very beginning for magazines, for TV shows. And they just wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, or I didn't say something I shouldn't say, because I was nervous. I'm like, I've never been interviewed like that. What do I say? She said, just know what know your parts. Know a little bit about the Star Wars. Don't give away anything. So I had done so much research. She never had to interject. I had a great conversations with all these, and I knew exactly what I was talking about. And she finally said, "You're on your own. You don't need me. You don't need the department here to make sure you know what you're talking about. You sound intelligent, and you go ahead. You can do these interviews now without me." I felt like, oh, this is great. So yeah, I was. What was the question? No, I'm kidding. The conventions, it was a whole new thing. And then I started doing all these Topps trading cards. Topps trading cards would send me the trading cards, like 500. And there's a lot of girls that have done Leia. We're all friends. There's 5 of us that have done Leia at some point, and we've all became friends. And we do conventions together, and we do little interviews. We sit around and sign all because everybody gets their. One of them's Padme, Kat Tabor. She's done Leia before. Shelby Young, Misty Lee, and Anna Graves. We've all done them in video games or animation. So we all get our own Star Wars Topps trading cards, and we sit around and sign them together. It's really a fun little group of princesses.
Cool.
So, and I'm doing a convention in 2 weeks. I haven't done any since Burnley. I did one. I did one in Las Vegas. I did a signing at a comic book store, and it was one night. I made an appearance there and met fans and did a little TV interview. And then I'm going to Fandom, which is in San Diego, next month.
Brilliant. Yeah, we tend to go to Burnley as a regular fixture. It's one of those, everybody, certainly over here, is like, that's one of the shows you keep your eye out for, and it really is a lovely show.
I'm trying to get into Ireland for Dublin, for the Dublin Comic Con there.
Okay.
Because I'm Irish, and my family is from and around Dublin.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to work something out. I don't know. I mean, I think I would know by now. I think next year is when they're going to do it actually live. So I was hoping to be able to go, but I haven't heard anything yet.
Oh, you'll have to keep us posted on that. And
I will.
We'll all come over. Dublin's a great weekend away.
Yeah.
I went many years ago. And
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, I did some kind of a filming for them, like an on-camera introduction, because they had everything online. So I did something for them like that, but I haven't been there physically live. I've been to Dublin, but not for the convention.
Yeah. You mentioned the Topps trading cards there. Do you collect memorabilia of Leia or any of the characters you've portrayed?
I don't collect, but I get a lot of things that from fans that make me or paint for me or design for me.
Yeah.
And I keep all of that stuff. But as a collector, I used to collect coins when I was a kid, and that's about it. Now I just collect music. I have so much sheet music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I was a Beatle collector. I had all things Beatles. I used to go to all the Beatle conventions, and I think I came home with 2 tickets to Shea Stadium back in '64. So I definitely was a Beatle collector, and I still have some things from that. And when John Lennon died, I collected everything that said anything about him, and I still have that stuff too.
So if there's one collectible or prop from Star Wars that you could get your hands on, what would it be?
Definitely something of Leia's.
Death Star plans.
That or her weapon, the laser gun that she used to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the Death Star plans. That would be because it was in a little tube that she popped. Yeah. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I seem to remember one of the conventions we did. The R2 Builders Club were there. And one of the guys had got like an R2 unit and like the Death Star plans like card, so you
the card, right?
Put it into the front of R2. So Claire was at that one, and she was obviously most taken with that. So I had to like film myself putting the Death Star plans into R2-D2.
I have a picture. One of my favorite pictures from a convention where they had all the R2s, rolling around the convention floor. And there's a picture of me with I don't have a card in my hand, but it looks like I'm bent down and I did the same pose and I slid it in and I looked back.
Yeah.
And somebody took a picture of it and I have it. It's great. It's one of my favorite pictures.
It's brilliant. So, what are your thoughts on how Star Wars has fared in recent years and how it's continuing to develop with shows such as Mandalorian?
Since I'm old school, I haven't expanded into watching all of that yet. I feel like I want to keep in my mind the original characters and the original 6 that I locked into and studied. it's so much information trying to keep track of when this happened, when the Mandalorians happened, when the Clone Wars happened, and then they came back. And so I want to just stick with what I know that's familiar to my character.
Yeah.
I remember when Disneyland opened the Star Wars land, and I had talked to the person that cast me in the Star Tours ride, and I said, am I coming back for something? And he said, they're not having the original 3 there. It's all new people. It's Rey, and it's all about the new stuff. And I said, oh God, I guess it's finally retired. The original trilogy kind of finally retired a little bit for new shows. And if there was a new show on Disney, I would love, of course, I want to play Leia. There's no other part I would want to play in Star Wars that I feel I'm right for. So it would be her story. It would be starting when she's young and just seeing her side of everything. I don't know if that will ever happen, but that's what I would want for Disney Plus.
Yeah. Have you read? There's a novel, and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here by not remembering who it's by. I'm not sure if it's Claudia Gray, the Leia, Princess of Alderaan book.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should definitely read that.
Okay.
There's a couple of sort of Leia-centric novels. There's Bloodline, which is more set in the sequel era, but Leia, Princess of Alderaan, is her at that sort of late teens, sort of before New Hope, as she's just getting like her first, finding her feet as a young senator and stuff.
That's when Rebels took place.
Yeah. So it's all around that sort of era, and it's
that's great. Okay,
it's a really good book. Thoroughly recommend it, and don't want to twist your judgment. I think you'll get how the character's portrayed from what you said about, you know, how you've looked into her past and how she developed. I think it'll strike a chord with you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So, I wonder if they have the audiobook. That would be kind of cool to listen to.
I think there is an audiobook, so I think that's how. I don't think I've got the actual physical book. I think I've got the audiobook.
Oh, okay, great.
So, yeah, definitely want to look out.
Okay.
As I say, my apologies to the author if it's not Claudia Gray, but it's a very, very good book. And a lot of people have said that the characterization of Leia is, you know, spot on. You know, for that sort of Carrie's portrayal of her at a slightly younger age, but still got that sort of feistiness about her, and which is what we all love.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's next for you professionally, both acting and musically?
Well, I'm making a big move. I'll tell you this, out of California into Atlanta, Georgia, where there's a ton of TV and film.
Okay.
And I will retain my voiceover agents here, of course, and I also have one there. And so I'll continue to audition for voiceovers. And I mean, I do voiceover jobs a lot, just little things, dubbing jobs, dubbing movies into English. And I just did a video game called Wasteland. So things like that. And then on camera, I do little like TV series and little episodes of this and that. And then short, I have a movie coming out called Chompy and the Girls. It's on all the different platforms like Hulu, and it's on video on demand. And I did that a couple of years ago. We did that before COVID, and that just came out. And I think I might already have a band lined up in Georgia. I haven't met them, but I can't not at least look on Craigslist and see if there's anybody in Atlanta looking for a keyboard player. And I found one that's looking for somebody that can play 80s music. And I'm like, I'm your girl. So I'm setting that up already. Don't tell my husband, though. He's like, oh, you finally get a break. So, yeah. And if I, with Charlie's Angels, I may leave a keyboard here because I still have family here. I'll be back. And if I get an acting job, I'll come back.
Yeah.
I said, if there's a gig that comes up and I'm here, absolutely, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
Same with Ragdolls. But Ragdolls is playing, who knows, they may play Georgia. There's a couple of clubs in there that bring tribute bands over, so I'll be there.
That's it. You'll be fighting the corner when you move down there.
Fighting the what?
Fighting the corner. Book my band. Book my band.
Yeah. Yeah, I booked all my bands here. Most of my bands, I was the one who booked them all. So I have that knowledge. I just don't know anybody in Atlanta.
Is there anything you'd still like to achieve, or you feel that that there's either musically or acting wise, that sort of thing? I'd love to do that.
I would like to be a regular on an animated series, or better yet, like in a DreamWorks or Pixar film, doing one of these big animated movies, with Billy Crystal or John Goodman or something like that. I that was one of my goals. Also, as an on-camera actor, I would love to go to work every day on set, whether it's working on a TV series or a feature film. I love working on feature films when you go to the set every single day, but those are so far and few between for the big stars. Yes. The ones that are trying to work as actors every day, there's just not a lot. And of course, I want to win an Oscar one day. That's my goal. That's one of my goals since I was a kid. So yeah, there's a couple things I still need to do.
There we go.
And as far as music, I used to want to be on the road. Like, oh, maybe I could join Heart. They have 2 keyboard players. Maybe I could be one of their keyboard. Yeah. But every time I go out of town, even for a weekend, my agent is like, all right, I submitted you for a TV show. You're going to be back soon? Yeah. Yes, I promise I'll be back Monday morning. I haven't. So I really can't be the rock star that tours all over, because acting and voiceovers are my number one passion. Yeah. I have to be available for that. So I have to stay in town. Which town? I don't know yet, but I have to stay in town.
You'll have to stay in a town somewhere.
In a town.
So how can people follow you and find out more about what you're up to?
I would say Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is Julie M, as in Mandalorian, Julie M. Dolan. Twitter is Just Call Me Leia, Just Call Me Leia. Facebook is Julie Dolan Actress. And, I have a website, juliedolan.com.
Yep.
Or Julie Dolan VO, which is voiceover. And every time I have a convention, I'll, put it out on one of the social medias. So if you're in the area, I would love to meet people.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Yes, you can. You can thank me enough. Just by saying thank you, that's enough.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, as always. We'll obviously keep people in touch. Certainly, if you're at conventions, especially in the UK, then we will endeavour to get a little group gathering down to harass you and bring you cookies and who knows what.
I'll be there.
But yes, but for this evening, thank you very much again, Julie Dolan.
Thank you. And may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
Hey!
No
Thanks for listening to Desert Planet Discs. If you want to stay part of the action and up to date on all the latest Star Wars news, check out the Fantatrax app via the App Store on your mobile device.
You can contact us via email at radio@fantatrax.com. Comment, like and share on any of our social media feeds at Fantatrax, and be sure to subscribe, leave a review, preferably a 5-star one, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcatcher or smart speaker of choice.
Don't forget to head to fantatrax.com/radio, home of Fantatrax Radio, and follow us on our social media feeds at Fantatrax, and bookmark fantatrax.com for all the latest in Star Wars news.